It's time by the hour, and a very warm welcome to all attendees for this session at the World Water Week. We are delighted to welcome you into this session where we have today 4 speakers located in 4 different parts of this large and complex country called India. We do hope the story we have to tell for you today is of interest in terms of what is possible in a region which is acutely difficult, which is drought prone, which sees large bouts of migration of men to the urban centers, and in the middle of it, an impact of a program that has shown signs of transforming on a very large scale the very lives of those who stay there. I will briefly introduce my co-panelists and then I'll introduce myself briefly. We have with us Nivedita Gonge. Nivedita is a program manager with Hindustan Unilever Foundation. And in particular, she has been directly involved with this program, which we are narrating to you. She's an engineer and a mechanical engineer to boot, and has been a management consultant in her previous life before she moved over into the development sector. And she'll really be walking us through the core strategy of this particular program. With us today, we have 2 representatives of our partner civil society organization, the Swayam Shikshak Prayog. That is a bit of a mouthful for most geography, so we will abbreviate it to SSP. And from the SSP team, we have Naseem Sheikh. Naseem Sheikh is the Associate Director of Programs, has more than 2 decades of experience in empowering grassroots women. She has led transformative experiences in disaster recovery, a little of which we will learn later, and is very close to the issues around building climate resilience and women's leadership. Our third speaker today is the person who is absolutely close to the ground, or the closest to the ground of all of us in rural India, Aishwarya Atkare. Aishwarya Atkare is a graduate and a postgraduate in agriculture and water and land management. But her core focus area, and that is, those are the stories that she'll be able to bring to us today, focuses on strengthening grassroots initiatives in sustainable agriculture, water management, and women's empowerment. Her empathy and passion for these is supreme, and when she speaks, we'll get a first-hand feel of what it is to be actually at the cutting edge of these transformations. As we go through the conversation, one request I have for all our attendees, if there are any questions or if there are any comments that you would like to make, please go ahead and do so in the chat box itself. And so that we have it all together, we can club together all the questions as they come, as they emerge, and then we can address them and or maybe talk about them and have the right person reflect of them towards the end of the session. Okay, maybe have the next slide, please. So at the outset, India is a complex country. And at the heart of India is life in the villages and agriculture. Agriculture fundamentally depends on the annual rains, which go by the seasonal winds called the monsoons. The monsoons are therefore a period of about 2 to 3 months, typically between the months of June and August, or maybe July to September in differing parts, when about 80 to 90% of all the precipitation happens across most parts of India. Indeed, more than 100 years ago, the British economist John Maynard Keynes had called India's economy a gamble on the monsoons. So not surprising at all that the years in which we have a good monsoon, agriculture is good. The rest of the years, it may or may not have good. Things have changed over the years with other forms of irrigation, etc., coming in. But primarily, there are two agricultural seasons in the country. One, which is synchronous with the monsoons, goes by the name of the Kharif crop. And the second, which is just after the monsoons or the winter crop, which goes by the name of the Rabi crop. So these are the two big ones which we go through. However, there is one major problem that has transformed India. It is that while we were historically dependent on the monsoons and in the rains, gradually with the advent of modern technology and our ability to extract water from the ground, it became very tempting to pull up the water from the ground and therefore have more ways in which to irrigate and therefore grow more crops outside of the season which was dependent on the rains. This has, over the years, led to some serious problems, and what I present before you are simply some newspaper headlines and reports. UN report warns India heading towards groundwater depletion point. India is staring at water poverty. And not just India, the entire South Asian subcontinent, which includes large and populous countries such as Pakistan or Bangladesh, all face similar issues. So even where there are number of rivers or there have been number of rivers, groundwater extraction still fulfills close to 90% of or 80 to 90% of agricultural requirements and needs. As a result, groundwater levels have dipped precipitously in different parts of the country, and that is a very important warning sign, and that is what we are trying to address. So with 18% of the world's population, 1 out of every 6 people in the world is an Indian, we only have 4% of freshwater resources. Most of our freshwater resources are used for agriculture, as large as 80% of it, and most of the agricultural water is actually drawn from the ground. No solution fits all of India. We have the mountains, 2,500 to 3,000 kilometers of the mighty Himalayas. We have the deserts. We have every possible terrain that you can think of. So it's difficult to have one solution for all of India. And the last bit, of course, is also being the most populous country and also a large, vibrant democracy. The responsibilities of different levels of government, whether it's the union, central government, or the federal government, as it's called in some parts of the world, the states, which themselves are handles anywhere close to 100 to 200 million people, as well as the local governments, which are even further down, they have their roles delineated. There are a great deal of interdependencies, and to make it work together in unison is never the easiest of challenges. So in this dramatic, diverse, and challenging context, this is where we move and place our story. We've been through the story of groundwater, that fundamentally it's used for agriculture, and that is why the story that we'll talk about is on agriculture today. And we also, the map on the right is simply to tell you that averages can be misleading. An average rainfall in India, or annual rainfall, will be 1,200 millimeters, but this could vary between 4,000, 4,500 in some parts of the country, and it could be as low as 200 to 300 in certain parts of the country, and that also not every year. Every year could potentially be a different story. And was the rain all on one day, or was it spread out as was predicted? There are a large number of uncertainties. But there's one certainty that we are drawing more water out from the ground than the ability to replenish it, because as the water drips through the levels of soils and reaches the aquifers, it's a far longer time than the speed with which we pull it out. So that is the broad context in which the Hindustan Unilever Foundation, as a separate foundation dedicated to the social cause, was set up 15 years ago. Unilever in India operates through an entity called Hindustan Lever, and it's been almost 100 years, just a few years short of 100 that we have been in existence here. Hindustan Unilever Foundation is purely philanthropic and has a single point of focus that we will help address issues of water security in India, test out different solutions, always co-created with our partners and with the community, make it available to the wider set of stakeholders who can build on it and move on with it. We've remained focused on rural agriculture water, and because that is where the stakes there are highest. And over the years, we have partnered with around 30 odd not-for-profit entities. Our pillars are deceptively simple. First, just know more about water. Just be clear on the basics thing. Know that it is not an infinite resource. Second, save water. That is, be prudent in terms of how we use it, and whatever water falls, keep it in a form that it is usable. And water, of course, is largely fresh water that we bring in. And the last bit, use less, be more prudent in agriculture practices. And as our Prime Minister has recently put it, get more crop per drop of water. As HUF has in its journey partnered with different CSOs, there are 4 fundamental types of models that have emerged. One, and that is one that we will talk about today, is using community resource persons, which is really a frontline cadre which is out there in the villages, spreading the education, being part of the community, and driving the agenda forward. Second bit is, of course, in collaboration. There are already institutions which exist. How can we collaborate with them and move forward? The third is, of course, measuring it, so that if you measure it, then you know what you're spending. So the principle of things like water budgets. And an ancient civilization also has lots of old, well-established traditions. Very often, just reviving them, revitalizing them is enough. So while India is the green speck that all of us know there, today we are placing our story in the state of Maharashtra, which in terms of population is roughly the same as that of Mexico, which would place it by itself amongst the top 10 countries of the world. Within the state of this large state of Maharashtra is where we will deep dive, and I invite Nivedita to take us forward with this part of the story.
Thank you so much, Shaman. Priyanka, can we go to the next? Yeah. So as Shaman mentioned, today we are bringing to you a program from the state of Maharashtra. And in fact, Maharashtra has 36 states, and this story is from one of the districts which is known as Dharashiv district. This Dharashiv district is primarily located in rainfall shadow region, and hence it's a very semi-arid region with low and irregular rainfall. And it is known as a drought-prone region, and every couple of years, 3 to 4 years, this district faces drought. And also in the recent decades, it has been facing declining groundwater levels. Next, please. So just to give a reference, Dharashiv district is almost 3 times the area of Luxembourg, and it has population which is equivalent to twice the population of Luxembourg. And it has almost 1.6 million population. A major chunk of this population, more than 2/3, is engaged in agriculture. All these households who are engaged in agriculture, most of them are small and marginal farmers, as we refer to them in India, who has typically less than zero point 0.8 hectares of land. Now, these farmers are highly dependent on agriculture as their primary source of income. The kind of crops they are growing are mostly cash crops, which are water intensive. Few crops in this region are soybean and sugarcane, which is a common crop here. Mostly the decisions of which crop has to be sown and where it should be sold is done by the male members in the household, the male farmers. And also the irrigation coverage is low in this region. And like Shravan mentioned, due to the changing climate variabilities, Dharashiv has become a very climate vulnerable region, and a lot of extreme events are directly impacting the agricultural sustainability here. And farmers, I think their sustenance is under question. Next, please. So with this context, I think our idea was how can we change the situation in Dharashiv and how can we build sustainability and security in the agriculture, and also, enhance the water security in the region. So with that in mind, we designed this program. And the idea was that how can we develop localized and community-led solutions. So to take this forward, there were three focus areas that we decided to include in the program. One was how can we minimize the use of water in agriculture? As discussed, Dharashiv has very less water, and how can we optimize the use of water that already exists in the region? And like Shravan pointed out, this falls under the useless pillar of HOF. And idea was how can we bring all the improved practices? How can we enhance the soil quality, soil moisture, and increase the irrigation efficiency so that we are able to get more crop per drop. Next idea was that using less is not enough. Since Dharashiv has less water, how can we conserve the water that it receives, the rainfall that it receives? So there is a necessary to save more the water that is coming in. And how can this be done? This can be done through a large-scale scientific watershed development planning and execution of large-scale water infrastructure, following a risk-to-value approach, and building the appropriate water storage and recharge structures. So that was the next big intervention for this program. And thirdly, while we are changing or influencing the agriculture practices and bringing water infrastructure, we cannot forget our small farmers. We need to de-risk their livelihood. So building their income security and enhancing their income is a key aspect of the program while we are working on the water and agriculture element. And this had to be done through facilitation and linkages with other stakeholders in the ecosystem, such as the government and the market players and financial and credit linkages. So bringing in and better coordination and linkages with all other players. So overall idea was that how can we bring water security in Dharashiv? How can we increase the sustainability of agriculture? And how can we ensure income security for our farmers? And slowly and gradually, the hope is that we can move Dharashiv from a climate vulnerable region to a climate resilient region. Next, please. So now coming to the very crux and core of this program, that how do we go about doing what we discussed till now, right? So idea was that how can we drive a community-led, community-driven program? And here comes our protagonist of the program. Let me introduce you to the core uh, players or core protagonists of our program. We fondly call them as Sakhis, which means friend in the regional Marathi language that is spoken in Maharashtra. So these Sakhis are women, strong local leaders that were developed in the ground level. And they are our anchors, they are our hands and feet on the ground, and they are driving all the diverse kind of interventions that we are running for the program. So these Sakhis are the face of the program on the ground, and all the farmers and different stakeholders on the ground really interact with these Sakhis. So going into further details of how was this program facilitation done, right? So engagement was at 3 different levels. One was, as I discussed earlier, directly with the farmers. Now, typically in a rural farming household in India, women are engaged in a lot of labor work in agriculture, but while they may not be directly involved in the decision making, it is the male members who make decisions. So our idea was to intervene through the women farmer in the family, to reach out to these women farmers and start engaging them, start building their capacity, and start using them as a negotiation for influencing and adoption of practices on ground. So one of the key models that our partner promotes, it's called as the One-Acre mixed cropping model or a biofarming model. This was introduced mainly through the women farmers across different rural households for small and marginal farmers. In this model, in a small piece of land, which is up to zero point 0.8 hectares, the farmers are able to grow almost 16 to 32 crops in a year from the same piece of land. These crops are diverse and can include cereals, pulses, oilseeds, vegetables, and all kinds of mixed cropping based on the season and based on other factors. So this model was introduced, and slowly the expansion of this model started happening through different villages and through different demonstrations that were conducted on ground. Secondly, while we were influencing diversifying into mixed cropping, also the main crop, whichever the farmer households are being grown, we started introducing through Sakhis better improved practices. It can be using moving away from chemicals, using irrigation and micro irrigation practices, introducing biofertilizers. So those kind of things also helped in bringing the overall requirement of water down in the other crops that they are growing. So while these Sakhis were working and slowly increasing their reach and adoption through the farmers, the second aspect of the program important was the water infrastructure. Now, India has, as mentioned by Shaman, a number of center and state government programs which provide the required funds for development of rural infrastructures, including water infrastructure. So idea was that Sakhis were trained, their technical capacity building was done on understanding the scientific principles, the risk to valley approach, understanding the geographic context of their village, and mapping out the resources that are available and how can they build better infrastructure to enhance the overall water availability, water storage, and water recharge in their villages. So this was done through community-centric and participatory methods. They started engaging with the key local leaders, the key government stakeholders, and local cadres on the ground. They started mapping the whole requirement of the village and started developing village development plans, which were for improving the overall water and agriculture scenario in their own village. Thirdly, like I mentioned, while we are working on water and agriculture, the very important, equally important part is how can we ensure better income returns to the farmers. So idea was how can we reduce their out-of-pocket expenditure and how can we get them better returns. So can we do collectivization, aggregation, value-added services to their commodities and better connect to markets. There were some existing farmer producer companies in the region. How can we strengthen them? How can we improve their credit linkages? How can we adopt mechanization and promote agri-allied activities? So all these interventions were undertaken. So just to summarize, the Sakhi was our anchor, the face on the ground for this program, and she was facilitating all these different elements of agriculture, water, and markets. Thank you, Shaman. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Nivedita. You've laid out the core strategy that was developed and introduced the single most important character, the Sakhi, the female friend, who actually was the one who was working in the villages, trying to drive forward the principles which were laid down, and the three big pillars of the farmers, the government, and the market mechanisms. But all of us who have on this call today who have worked, we do realize that while making an appropriate and a tight strategy is tough, executing it on ground is much tougher. And who better to tell us about that than Naseem Sheikh, who has been with the organization, the civil society organization SSP, for a long time, who has been on ground, and who also will tell us why did SSP come into being in the first place in this part of the country and this huge, massive geography with the unique challenges. Naseem, over to you for us to talk us through this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, as everyone said about the Marathwada region and the SSP, I'm going to talk about the SSP as an organization, how SSP founded by Prema Gopalan after the Latur earthquake. Like Marathwada region is first had big first shock in 1993, where there's a massive earthquake and everything is destroyed. From there, we started our work and to rebuild houses, restore livelihoods, and take leader through the women's leadership, how the women can play the center role in the recovery and resilience building of after the earthquake. And over the years, SSP expanded his work in across more than 80 states of India. Those are more again repeatedly affecting by the different natural disasters in the region. The whole soul of the organization work in the disaster is like when everybody is rushing to build the infrastructure, organization wants to focus building the community, building their capacities to rebuild, rethink, and redesign their development process with the women's lane. SSP expanded his work in 8+ states, but Marathwada is the lab where we are there for last 30 years, because Marathwada, as Nivedita and Sharman sir explain about Marathwada situation, we are facing always drought. We are facing lot of climate challenges. We are sometimes we are having excessive rain. Sometimes we don't have rain. So these to tackle this problem, we are working on One-Acre Model, where One-Acre Model is called about women-led climate resilient agriculture. As we all know, 80% of the agriculture work is done by the women, and women are having 50% of the women are having technical these reservation in the local governance system, but still they don't have say in the planning of agriculture. So through this model, by recognizing this gap, through this model, we are trying to ensure how the women can be the part of center process to lead this community resilience, climate resilient agriculture practices and water security practices by partnering with the local government. Uh, as SSP has his own belief on women's leadership and women-centric, women-led development, HUF is having the focus on the water security. So we together partner, like from 2012 to 2001, SSP almost worked in more than six districts by demonstrating this model is viable, accessible, and the women are adopting this model to ensure the food, water, and income security of their family. So in 2021, we partnered with Hindustan Unilever Foundation to scale this model, not only in a small geography, the whole full district of Dharashu, and we covered nearly about 1/3 of the farmers where they can practice this one-acre model uh, to ensure the food security and by diversifying crops, the adopting water management techniques, and working with the local panchayats, local governance system by doing uh, the planning on water infrastructure, and how they can work together to diversify the crops, how they can come together to make choice and voice with the panchayat uh, to ensure the access to resources to scale up this model. And with this support, our Sakhis demonstrate to lead the change in their communities by promoting crop diversification, and we are able to mobilize huge government resources, and their support, like our Sakhis are excessive, the collector, district administrator are and different department heads like the soil water conservation department. Everyone is looking Sakhi as a facilitator to lead this change in their community. Them and more than 500 villages where the 500 Sakhis are actively working with the small and marginal farmers. So all together, SSP is remain always focusing on the women's empowerment and their leadership to lead change in their communities. So over to Shaman sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Naseem. You have very powerfully laid out how difficult the region in which you work, which is the region of Marathwada, which is a sub part of the state of Maharashtra. For everyone, Marathwada is roughly the area-wise the same size as a European country like Lithuania or Latvia, and with a population almost the same as Sri Lanka. So a very large geography. We saw how earthquake had ravaged it, and thereafter, with its drought-prone areas, this was one of the few places where trains had to be run with drinking water. Absolutely, trains had to be rushed in some years back. Very difficult situation. And Naseem did take us through the implementation challenge of engaging with different government departments, different at different levels of government, as well as at different functions and sub departments of it. But now let's come to the most exciting part of the presentation. Let us meet somebody who day to day works with the Sakhis, these fearless women who are driving this entire change to bring water efficient and climate resilient agriculture to Marathwada. I welcome Aishwarya. You are closest as a block coordinator. You work with many Sakhis. You face many challenges. Please tell us what it is to make it actually happen on ground.
Firstly, thank you so much, sir, for giving me opportunity to talking about women's-led climate-resilient farming. Farmers die by the suicide because of heavy loans and the loss of incomes. There was also one woman farmer who took her life. She's saying she could not feed her children. This made other women realize the need to return to traditional farming method, ensure food security for their families. Women farmers are now being empowered to plan and adopt sustainable farming practices that improves food security and reduce climate risk. So our Sakhi are at the heart of this program. They not only practices this model on their own farm, but also share the knowledge and create awareness among other small and marginal farmers. Uh, with the better access to land and agriculture extension services, women farmers are cultivating women-led climate resilient farming. This WCRF model on more than 2 lakh acre of land. This model focus on growing food security crops that use less water and are climate resilient, improving the household nutrition, etc. Women farmers led by our Sakhi are transforming drought hit region by adopting climate resilient farming, ensure food security, reducing climate risk, and cultivating hope among the small farmers. And also, I would like to share with you the inspiring story from our grassroots. This is about Annapurna Jhagirdar from the Bhandarwadi village block in district Dharashiv, Maharashtra, India, who has been working with the SSP for the past 4 years. She began her work during the COVID period by helping Anganwadi worker in her villages with the vaccination drives. Through these efforts, she built strong recognition in her villages and nearby areas. Later, she started working as a village Sakhi under the HO project of the organization. She began working with 200 farmers, women farmers in her villages on organic farming, water, government, and market linkage. She trained women farmers on organic farming, WCRF model or One-Acre Model, and also conducted various demonstrations. As a result, in last 3 years, significant changes have taken place in the farmers' practices and in the villages. She made farmers uh, aware about the harmful effect of chemical pesticides and explain through the workshop and meeting how health and financial crisis can be avoided by shifting to organic farming. Uh, Currently in her villages, about 120 farmers are in doing organic farming, and under the traditional agriculture development scheme, 40 farmers are in the process of certification for the organic farming is underway. During her journey, also she received the watershed management training. She has become a link between the farmers and the Gram Panchayat officers in her villages. She successfully bringing farmers and Gram Panchayat officers together. She carried out the PRA activity in her villages in the presence of villagers, farmers, and GP members. Also, where she demonstrate to villagers for the current water situation, availability of water, and the need for the watershed management work. While working on a watershed management, with her support, the village has completed the total 40 recharge shaft, 1.5 kilometer of nala deepening, also the various inlet and outlet constructed the three inlet and outlet compound in the villages. Along with this process has also been made constructing three inlet and outlet. Sorry, it is revised. Sorry. Annapurna Tai has a together with the SSP has contributing significantly to these achievements. The organization is truly proud of her, and thank you so much for again, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for bringing us a real story, the story of Annapurna, one of the Sakhis who has driven this change on ground, step by step, painstakingly, and so on. But collectively, if we were to look at what has this program delivered over the last 3.5 years, what were the outcomes? Were we able to meet what we set out to do, that is trying to make the area more climate resilient, more water efficient, to be able to live with the vagaries and uncertainties of the water table? I over to Nivedita as the program lead to tell us where did the story take us to, and then what more can we do with it, and the communities do with it as we go forward. In the meantime, I'll request all viewers, any questions that you may have, any comments that you may like to do, please do feel free to put it on the chat. It'll allow us to be able to address them as precisely as we can. Nivedita, over to you to tell us, where did this entire program in Marathwada, this huge, complex and tough geography, lead us to?
Yes, thank you, Shaman. And I would like to highlight the picture that is being currently shown on the screen. This is a small model of how a 1-acre farm model looks like, right? And as you can see, a small parcel of land has various multiple crops being grown in small portions. And this is what I think one of the key interventions that is being promoted. Can we go next, please? So coming to, overall, what are the results that we are seeing, right? This is still in progress on ground, but we are seeing very promising results. So I'll start with the story like Aishwarya shared about Annapurna. We have developed, similar to Annapurna, Tai or Sakhi, 500 such women leaders in the district of Dharashiv. So these leaders are locally driving the overall development, agriculture, sustainability, and water conservation in their villages. Plus, the 1-acre model or the mixed cropping biofarming model that you saw right now has been adopted in more than 50,000 hectare of area in the Dharashiv district. Besides, almost 75,000 of other crops have been adopted under improved practices of agriculture, like efficient irrigation practices. Overall, this program has reached 100,000 farmers, which is almost 1/3 of the district's total farmers. So 1 in every 3 farmers in the district currently is adopting some form of improved practice and adopting the biofarming model. Next, through the government initiatives and government leverage, a lot of water infrastructure was created and rejuvenated. So more than 1,000 structures have been created over the past 3 years. Similarly, a large chunk of government funds, be it the central or the state government funds, were leveraged, and up to the scale of 400 million rupees, Indian rupees funds have been lavished through different government schemes and programs. Also, one of the focus areas of the program was that how can we further develop the capabilities of women leaders and how can they become more entrepreneurial. So a lot of micro entrepreneurs were set up throughout the program. These were the leader farmers who were already working, the women leader farmers, and they were given small micro enterprises related to inputs, farming inputs, and agri-allied activities. So more than 30,000 micro entrepreneurs have been set up. While these are the quantitative aspects, right? But I feel, and what we have seen from the field with stories like Annapurna, that it has really created a big transformation on the ground. Women have come to the forefront and they have taken charge of development. They have taken charge of the whole agricultural decision making and also designing agri-allied activities and developing value chains. We are seeing a lot of women who have become recognized in their local areas, in their blocks and districts. They are being invited to different government forums and meetings. They are coordinating with local agricultural universities to promote the required crops. So this has really created a massive movement on the ground, and it's a women-led movement, and it is by the women, for the women, of the women. So we are very happy and thrilled to see the results. Thank you, Shaman.
Thank you so much, Nivedita, for telling us and narrating the multifaceted impact. While we started with a tighter defined definition in terms of a drought-prone area, how do we make farming more self-reliant, etc. The impact that it has had on the broader economy, on reaching as many as 100,000 small and marginal farmers, the confidence of the leadership that it has developed at the grassroots levels, and where these women can hold their own in any at any fora and take forward the story with confidence, and they become role models for a lot of other women to follow, is truly heroic. So this is where our story ends in terms of putting forward this particular story from India. There are a number of questions which are there, and which we will take up one by one. A few of them are comments. There's a question from Wesley Pereira, which has also been kindly answered by Mr. Prabhakar from ITC India. Have you considered water smart crops that are drought tolerant for better management of limited water resources for agriculture and prevent depletion of groundwater? I think this is, and Prabhakar has replied about the entire program of millets. Millets have traditionally been grown in India. They're always water efficient. But I'd invite Nivedita and maybe then Naseem just to add on how this has been done, especially perhaps with reference to the 1-acre model you talked about. Over to you, Nivedita and then Naseem.
Yes, Shaman.
Yes, Nivedita, go ahead, then I can.
Right. So I think definitely one of the key objectives of the program is to promote water smart and what do you say, climate resilient crop varieties. So SSP team has been working very closely with the Agricultural University in Dharashiv, and they have been working closely with the Agriculture Department, Horticulture Department, and they are always exploring ways to promote the most water water smart as well as climate resilient crop varieties, and millets also is included a part of these crops. It also depends on the agroclimatic zone and the local conditions for that year. So the local team is always working and it is promoted as a part of the 1-acre model. Yes, Naseem, you can add to this.
Yes. So, as we don't have much water and we are depending on the groundwater, so we are focusing vegetable cultivation and millets. Like our region is more known for the various millets, so we are also trying to cultivate millets. And as Nivedita said, we are working with KVKs where our farmers have access to drought resilient seeds and various crop varieties, so that is reducing the risk during the drought, and farmers are ensuring food as well as their income through the same water efficient crops.
Thank you, Naseem. So that addresses it. Yes, there's been a very conscious effort at choosing the right crops appropriate, which are also water efficient. There is an offer by Michelle from the United Nations University, and she's very keen at seeing if there is any interest that she could explore the possibility of adding value to some of these programs, and I'm sure that that can also be explored. Thank you very much, Michelle. There's a question from Rodrigo in Germany. I would like to know if there was strong opposition from the agrochemical lobby or from the male farmers. But I'm keen on knowing if there was and how did you overcome this opposition? So both male farmers as well as from the agrochemical lobby. Is there a response you'd like to give to this?
I can add and then Naseem can add.
Yes,
right?
please. Nivedita, you
Right.
first, you.
Right. So I think I'll first talk about the male members and the male farmers. I think definitely there was an opposition as well as I think initially a big struggle for both our Sakhis as well as our women farmers, right? So the idea was that how do you slowly create an environment of trust and nudge the male members in the family to start trusting the female, and I think it started with Sakhis. I think firstly Sakhis also are from the community, the same village, and they also face similar challenges. Once they were out looking at their examples, the other women farmers were nudged. So I can add from my insight, but Naseem can add more, that the idea was how do we not directly move towards a big change, but slowly introduce gradual changes. So is there a piece of land of agriculture which is either not being left barren or not being used, or can they assign a small piece of land to the women farmer where she would negotiate with the family that give me this piece of land and I will do whatever I want to grow. And after 1 or 2 agricultural seasons, with the training that was provided through SSB, they would see such good results that in the next year, the women farmer could negotiate with the family to increase her piece of land from, let's say, a 0.1 hectare to a 0.2 hectare to a 0.3 hectare. And gradually, over 3 years, we have seen many examples where now women farmers are able to influence decision in the families for either 50%, 70%, or in some cases even 100% of the agricultural land that the family is there. And with consistent efforts from Naseem's and SSP team, almost 12,000 women farmers have received their land rights as well over on the 1 acre land. So the land is now being legally given to the women farmer for cultivation. And Naseem, you can add more.
Yeah, Naseem, very briefly, please, because there are a number of other questions which are waiting. Yeah.
Yes. So the interest part of this is when we took this approach, convincing women farmers for this bio farming, organic farming. That time we focus on the health, like how the family health is affected due to this chemical fertilizers use, and how the soil is like that time soil will not the first attraction for the families. So women are more conscious about their children's health and their own health. So we took that approach, and from that to now, the whole the story which Vidita already shared is like the initiative is started in 2012, and now we are in 2025. So it took almost more than 10 years to transform this approach.
Slow but steady, but yes, quite clearly these obstacles that men folk are no longer the obstacle, and even even agrochemical, etc. That those are issues that have been dealt with great degree of tact and firmness, and by getting the support of the local villages. There are a couple of comments from Thomas.
And now we are yeah, so now we are in a process of bringing more than 2,000 hectares of land into the organic certification process in last 2 years. Yeah.
So, and that adds value. Organic certification comes in as well. Okay, briefly, there's a comment from Thomas Gradek that farmers are at the bottom of the income level of the economy. Should farmers take climate risk on their shoulders alone? How do you want a farmer to be incentivized to shoulder water risk? Very sharp observations. Indeed, we do not want them to be prone very much to the risk of water, and that's one particular reason why this entire program has been put up. There's a question from Ritwan Kalinaki from Uganda. What scalable innovations have you deployed to help farmers adapt to water scarcity and erratic rain? I think I'll answer that question. The entire program has been designed in such a way that water resources will remain limited. So while we will aim to increase the supply of water as we go along as well, but even with limited water, we are able to look not just at food but at nutrition security, and therefore look at the crop selection where it can work with lower degree of water availability and rain. There's an interesting question from Thomas Frederick. And Naseem, you should go for this. Are water rights attributed to property ownership? Are water rights attributed to property ownership? So if there's water under my ground, is that my water or does that belong to the community? What is your response to this?
Sir, when the infrastructures are built in the own farm, that ground, that water is the farmer's water. But in our approach, we try to build both sides, like how the community infrastructures are the common property of the community, where they are using collectively, and few infrastructures which the farmers are doing on their own farm. So that way, the water property is divided between the individual and the collectives.
Thank you. That helps. Nivedita, would you want to address this question briefly? Could you explain more about the watershed management program? This is a question from Swati. Or the local water infrastructure developed. I know you've traveled a lot in the field. What are some of the local water infrastructure developed?
Right.
So in this case, yeah,
No,
go ahead.
let Nivedita go for this, please. Naseem, Nivedita, yeah.
Yeah. So typically, I think what water structure has to be developed locally is designed by the Gram Panchayat, and our Sakhis have played a key role to identify with community participation what are the resources. At the village level, they will map the different water resources that are already available and also understand the watershed principles from ridge to valley approach. And things like right from larger infrastructure like check dams have also been built to smaller infrastructure like farm ponds, gully plugs, contour trenches. So these are the kind of a lot of recharge structures have also been built like recharge pits, because that region does need a lot of groundwater recharge. So based on the local geographic context of the village, the contour maps and typographical study is done for the village, and then based on different stakeholders coordination, a prioritization of works is identified, and those are taken up through different government schemes and programs.
So multi-layered approach depending on what is most appropriate. That is what comes in. We are running out of time, so our last couple of questions. There's a question from Mr. Deo that local knowledge is very important in developing climate resilient communities. I think all of us strongly agree to this, sir. So his question is, what could be an organic way of conserving local knowledge and indeed scaling it up? How can local knowledge be conserved, and how can it be can this be scaled up? This is a very interesting question that comes up. And would anyone like to go for this?
Naseem, I think you can tell more.
Yeah. Yes. So in our work from day one only, we are trying to engage the women, those who are protecting their local seed varieties, and the crop management, the pest management practices which they locally follow, like we using the marigold in the pest management is a local practice, but it is very effective and very, very affordable practice, which will reduce lot of cost of on pest management. So these kind of local practices we are harvesting, and then we are documenting to them, and we are disseminating the same knowledge through their storytelling and creating the IC material to the other farmers. So
the
that
knowledge
is
is
the way
not
we are
lost.
following.
Yeah. So the knowledge is the knowledge is not lost. It's the knowledge is somewhere which is hidden. Wesley Pereira has a question. Do you regularly change agricultural cropping patterns to address challenges related to water availability? Yes, indeed. There's in fact a basket of crops which are rotated as appropriate at that particular point in time, both through the season as well as crops which come through at different points, as well as some years have good rainfall, some years do not have good rainfall. So there's a little bit of dynamism which has been introduced into this model. And we pick up the last question from Jairam Motwani. What challenges are there in implementing water pricing for agricultural use, especially in the case of the Sakhis model? Well, there are a lot of challenges. Water pricing is not an easy subject, but the fact that water is valuable and water is not unlimited, that has certainly seeped through and has been well understood now, I think, through the communities that we have gradually been working with, and many of our other civil society partners who are also participating today. They are well aware of how this is. So it's a small, it's a tough step, but there's a walk in that right direction which has started, and hope today or tomorrow it will reach a stage where the true value of water in everyone's happiness is located. We are out of allocated time. I just want to thank everyone who has chosen to. I know you have a choice. You've chosen to attend this session from HUF and SSP at World Water Week 2025. Very grateful to all of you for your time, and we really hope that you have enjoyed this session. Thank you very much to the organizers at World Water Week for providing us this platform to celebrate the Sakhis and all my fellow speakers today, Aishwarya, Naseem, and Nivedita, for sharing from ground up. And just imagine today, all of us, some of us were in the villages, some were in the district towns, but we've been there together. And a very special thank you to Mr. Prabhakar for kind of joining in early and adding your weight to this particular program. Very grateful. Together, we will win these challenges of water security in India. Thank you so much.
Thank you.